When it comes to past lifetimes, regardless of how strange they may be to the current lifetime mental body, it will of course not only make sense to the real you, but will naturally have made sense to the personal self that had that lifetime at the time it was having it. If the past life flashback is very strong, we can be completely immersed in it during the tapline removal, as though we are displaced temporarily and positioned back in what may be a world completely alien to us from our current personal perspective. So it's very conceivable that both the real you and the personal view can have no problems whatsoever in grasping what's going on during the real side experience. Only when waking are we returned to the personal awareness and a mental vehicle that only has the references of experiences had in our current lifetime to draw upon, and will ponder how the experience seemed to make perfect sense at the time of having it, but now it's just a mess of vague imagery and nonsensical occurrences. It does fall on us to learn to recognize the ears, and this same recognition is required to read the real side experiences, for always there is what the personal self can literally see, which is the surface part of the dream, and then there is what the personal self can't perceive, an underlying aspect that is behind the surface. And it is that subtle underlayer that must be recognized to fully grasp what is being demonstrated in the experience. When it comes to these tapline removing and lifetime reruns, I would say we need not concern ourselves with their understanding so much, as these experiences were simply generated as we had the agreement or attachment severed. The purpose then was not so much that the experience was to be recognized for our becoming more aware benefit, but more so it was a taplining removing session. Although on waking, as the personal self scratches its limited head over the strange alien dream that seemed so familiar, if we do step into the being-isness state, which is our real awareness, we can reconnect with the real self's view of the experience, and although we still may not necessarily decipher it, we can still experience our familiarity with the experience. as our process continues, we ought find that we are better able to understand such alien worlds, even as they sit beyond the references available in our current mental mind vehicle. For we are forever more so becoming more aware and recognizing our real self and the is. It stands to reason then that we would start to be able to shift our awareness far more readily throughout the created parts of ourselves and alternate from the real awareness to the personal awareness, affording a comparison between the two states of awareness in any experience situation. And as we become better able to read this true reality, we can bring information back to the personal self with better recognition, and consequently will be more able to dip into our Akashic past life files and, utilizing our real awareness, be able to understand their contents, regardless of which part of the creational simulator they stemmed from. Ultimately, we will be able to view the more complete and endless universal files of the All-Is, and if able to recognize and bring that back to the personal self, we will have a vast overview of everything that makes up the created consciousness and all the lifetimes that make up its construction. Although we ought not become too overly concerned with past lifetimes. Yes, they can be interesting, but they represent nothing more than reference material. All lifetimes are just creations of the simulator. They have nothing to do with the whole of life, and a focus then on what are created ideas can have our focus diverted from our real intent, that being the recognition of the is. It's all about focus and intent. Where we place these will determine where we position ourselves. If we place our focus on ideas in creation, regardless of the idea, as everything in creation is a created idea, then we are chasing and agreeing to these ideas. We are deciding effectively to remain in the simulators, and it's very easy to slip back into the personal self and pursue these ideas, that we become the effects of them and ensure future unconscious lifetimes accordingly. We have become conscious of the cause and effect nature of the simulators and all the references and knowledge now, But as we recycle back and have a new mind, a new mental body, it is like a brand new file containing no data. Yes, we have the references in our Akashic causal vehicles. We may have all this accumulated knowledge of the ears and creation if we made a study of it in the previous lifetime. But now it is not readily available and to hand. And the past lifetime ideas that we chased, that brought us into this new lifetime, has us in a position where we are unconscious of everything again. And should we be afforded the opportunity to become more aware, we would have to gather all the literal information once again. For the process of awareness must begin with the literal information. The understanding for the personal mind is the first step. Then it moves more into the recognition of the true reality and the realization that all the references pertaining to it are just that. They are just created ideas to present something that really defies explanation. People can become stuck on the literal references, but these are no different to any other idea in creation. But at least they reference and hint to the real universes, and are not just good-sounding, emotionally stimulating, creation-based references, but nevertheless, the references can never be the reality of that which they are designed to reference. So as we go through our process, we must be cautious that we don't latch onto these created ideas as they manifest. The focus should always be on the all is, and the moment we agree with an idea in creation, we attach emotionally to it, it will suck us down, and we fall back, absorbed into creation again. The guides will always seek to demonstrate on the real side the various aspects of the personal self that represent taplining hindrances, the mental considerations, assumptions, attitudes, and the emotional components and attachments are all that which the created consciousness is constructed from. The personal self cannot see past its own construction, and the attitudes and considerations it cushions itself in will block out its ability to glean insight from the real awareness. As the personal self considers just itself, it blocks off this conduit of true reality guidance that can only be accessed from creation if we stand in connection with it, and that is the being-isness state, being in the new nowness, which is the all-is in creation. Recognition will also be required as we stand in this new nowness, and the extent to which we can recognize this true reality dictates what we can read from it, draw our insights, and know exactly what to do that makes sense according to the whole of life in every new moment. The block that the personal self represents as we continually wallow in its construction, the thoughts and emotions we continually entertain, will extend to the real side also. Everything is an isness, and what we are aware of now and are experiencing is according to what we decide in each new moment. If we choose to be in this being-isness connection to the is state, or sit in the personal self, and so we may very well block the real side demonstrations from featuring in our experience. They are still occurring, but it would be as though we were sitting in a different room to the room where the television is presenting its movie.